Sorry. Welcome to today's episode of Between Friends. I'm Eileen Roche, co-founder of Dime, and I'm delighted that you're joining me today during this holiday week. I know many of you are busy baking pies and prepping stuffing and all kinds of wonderful dishes for the celebration on Thursday for Thanksgiving. But in the meantime, we're still embroidering here. And I would like to thank you for giving me off last week, whether you wanted to or not. I was a little under the weather, and I hope that I get through today's program easily, but we shouldn't have any problem. But, a topic that's probably dear to everybody's heart is mistakes and how we avoid them. There's common mistakes that even the experts and experienced embroiderers continue to make because maybe we didn't think it through, or we didn't, we're speeding up the process and didn't stop and take a second to think about the proper steps to avoid disaster. So I have my top 10, and I also have a guest that's joining me today, and that's our good friend Sue Brown from OML Embroidery, because at the end of today's program, I'm going to reveal the On the House project. So let's go ahead and welcome in Sue. Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Good. Great. Everything's really good.
I'm
happy. Yeah. It's getting closer to Christmas, and my birthday was yesterday, and yeah, I know.
Happy birthday. Well, I wish we had known that. Goodness. Happy birthday.
That's okay. My thread is going to keep me in check for like 10 years. I love it so much. It's the best.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Well, birthdays are definitely something to celebrate, aren't they, Sue? Because I'm sure, as we age, we have family members and friends that don't get to celebrate birthdays anymore. So I'm all for a birthday celebration. I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun, actually. We ate food that I don't normally eat.
Okay.
And lots of junk food and cake. And I had a great time with my kids. I actually got to see both of them. So that was nice. That doesn't happen too often.
Right. Hard to get them all around the same table, I know.
Yes. But
yeah.
So it was a good day.
Yeah. You are an avid embroiderer and an expert for sure. And I'll bet there's some mistakes you've made through the years, right?
I still make them. And I'm not perfect.
Right. And you and I, we get to make them in front of people because that's what we do for a living. It's teach embroidery. And you can't embroider unless you're making mistakes, right?
That's why I do all my shows live, because if I'm going to make the mistake, then I show people how I fix it.
Right. Smart.
Yes. I will tell you that the bird nest tool has come in handy as heck for the last week.
Well, that is today's sponsoring product for the show.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I know you didn't know that, but that's exactly what it is. So let's go ahead and take in the PowerPoint to just, these are the things that we're going to talk about that make us better embroiderers. Every mistake makes you a better embroiderer. And sometimes you need tools to repair some of those mistakes. Now, bird's nests aren't normally from a user error. Isn't that right? It's more of a machine error.
It was a machine error on mine that I had a little bit of thread caught in the tension discs.
Right.
But yeah, it was bird nesty, and that saved the day more than once.
Right, it sure does. So we're going to talk a little bit about bird's nest in a moment. But has this ever happened to you, where you stitch the fabric behind the hoop, and now you have, your hoop is sewn into your fabric or your garment. Oh, that's the
Yeah,
worst.
about 2 weeks ago that happened. I
Did
was
it?
like, "Darn it."
Yeah. And
Yes.
really, there's only one way to avoid that, and that is right before you press go, is you run your hand over the sewing field. It's hooped, right? It's on the machine. Run your hand over there and feel if there's another layer of fabric under there.
I like to peek underneath very gently,
Okay.
and then
Yeah.
I can see, and then I check the back and the front and the one side just to make sure because, it's a little frustrating when that happens,
Yeah.
right? And I
Mhm.
got used to the, 10 needle machine, so having a flatbed, I check and I double check.
For sure. It's really easy to get caught on a tubular machine, on the
Yes.
multi-needle. Yeah, definitely. And, any of you watching and, in the comments, if you've had similar experiences, we would love to hear from you and share your thoughts too, because, if you're embroidering, you're going to run into
Mistakes
some
happen.
problems. Yeah. Okay. So using the wrong needle. Now, many people may not know, Sue, but there's actually two types of needles, right? There's lots of sizes and different size of the eye, but really there's just two basic points. And one is, and I just think this is a joke, but a sharp needle. But truly, that's the needle point type, sharp. And the other is ballpoint. And you've heard lots of the dime educators talk about it. You've heard Deborah Jones in the past talk about it. But it's really important that when you are stitching on knit fabrics that you use a ballpoint needle. And now maybe you have needles that are not identified once they're out of the container. So let me show you what I do. I'm going to, I just get a Sharpie. And, these are our needles, these Triumph needles. We just love these. And they are labeled, right? So here we have our SES designates a ballpoint. We have our size 1280 and then some other information that's not all that relevant to you. But what I do is I take a Sharpie and I run it right across the whole packet, so that when it's in the machine, I can see that black line and then I know, oh, well, that's my ballpoint. I don't have to worry about having it identified or leaving this container on my machine bed as an identifier. How about you, Sue? Do you have any tricks like that?
I don't because I'm rather lazy and I just use the 7511 dime ones, but I also don't particularly stitch on different fabrics, so I don't really need to.
Yeah.
But I really like your idea there
Yeah,
that
and
you
the
can
minute
tell.
you open the package or I open the package, that's what I do. And then I just know if it gets separated from the container or, obviously when it's in the machine at a quick glance, I know. Now
I do have the needles, I just
Mhm.
don't use them yet. Like, if I
Yeah.
was gonna stitch on knit,
Uh-huh.
then I would, grab one of my dime ones and do it. I'm gonna go and Sharpie everything.
Yeah, so the SES of our needles, our Triumph needles, is the ballpoint tip. And of course, it comes in different sizes, but the basic one that I use, my go-to, is an 8012. And
Mm.
I do a lot of knits. I do a lot of sweatshirts and t-shirts, that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm always switching my needles in and out. But anyway, yeah. Okay, let's see what's next. Now, we've been told always use the smallest hoop for the embroidery design. And, it's good advice it's good advice because it gives you the best hold on the fabric, right? But unless your hooping skills are absolutely perfect and spot on, if you put a 4x4 design in a 4x4 hoop, you've got to land that absolutely perfectly, right, Sue?
Yes,
Yeah, that's
definitely,
that's a
and
struggle.
Yeah, it can be very frustrating.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, it's annoying.
Yeah.
And if you don't get it right, it's not going to stitch it at all.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You can't move it, and so you'll have to rehoop and rehoop. Now, we do have lots of tools here at Dime for, nailing placement, and, I can do a 4x4 design in a 4x4 hoop. I'm confident I can do that. But truth be told, sometimes I just want to hoop it quick and get her
Get
done, as they
stitching.
say, right? So the
Definitely.
image, yeah, the image in the center there is a 5x7 hoop. And you could see there's ample wiggle room around now. I can move to the right, to the left, to the top, to the bottom, right? Yeah. Now the image on the right, that's like an 8x12 hoop for a 4x4 design. That's probably not going to give you the stabilization that you need. And I would say that's overkill. Now, if I was filling the hoop with multiple designs, then maybe I would go with that big hoop. But basically, for a full 4x4 design, I'd probably use a 5x7.
Yes, I would too, definitely, especially the magnetic hoops. I kind of gravitate to the ones I have.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
sure.
because it doesn't matter to me if it's a little bit bigger because
Yeah.
I always want to use those hoops.
Right. Okay, so and here's Reen Wilcoxon. She makes a good point. And that's our good friend from Embroidery Garden. For those of you who don't know Reen, she is the power to be, behind the Embroidery Garden. So she says sometimes you need a little bit more room in the hoop to trim, and a bigger hoop can be helpful because
Good
she's the in the
point.
hoop queen, right? So she's always trimming in the hoop.
And ironing or anything like that
Yeah.
would be a whole lot.
Mhm.
If you look at the 4x4, his little feet and his little
Yeah.
ears are really close to the line,
Yeah.
really close.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. Hmm. Okay, so what's up next? Let's see what the next slide. Oh, well, using the wrong stabilizer. Well, we have a solution for that, right, Sue?
Oh, I live by that compass. I
Hmm.
do, especially if I am doing something different. I have no idea
Yeah.
what
Right.
stabilizer, what needle to use
Mhm.
because I just
Yeah.
use cotton fabric all the time. So
Right.
it's right beside my machine and that's where it
Mhm.
stays. And
Yeah.
I have one for the big one too.
Ex- Perfect. So I have some fabrics to kind of look at, and I'll bring the compass over with me, so that we could take a look at that. But we have, like Sue says, she's offering embroidering on cotton, and I am also, and probably t-shirts and sweatshirts. But here we have a selection of fabrics. We have terry cloth towel, we have organza, and then we have a satin, which is silky and shiny, slippery, all of that. And so, if we were to look at, well, first off, let's just talk about the wearability of an organza. So, on an organza, you are definitely going to see through this fabric. So, we don't want a big patch of stabilizer behind it, right? So, whatever we use, we want to be able to remove.
Definitely.
So, okay, so we have sheer fabric, transparent. And Deborah's got a great tip, suggestion here. She likes to use 2 layers of transparent sew and heat, which is a heat soluble film. And it's great stuff. Now, that's great advice. You would have to test your heat on your organza, but it's a polyester, so this is pretty strong. And of course, silk organza, you most certainly could use that on. Now, satin is, let's see where she has satin. Well, she's got silk charmeuse. See if she just has satin. Okay, so I'm going to go with the silk charmeuse because that's the closest. And she says we're going to need a layer of soft tearaway and 1 or more layers of a lightweight firm tearaway. So she gives you some options. It doesn't, her suggestions um, are solid or solid suggestions, and it doesn't mean that, oh my, you can only embroider it on one specific stabilizer. She gives you some options. She also tells you what needle, and then she also says, to hoop the soft tearaway, hoop the fabric with the soft tearaway, and then float another piece of tearaway underneath, between the machine and the bottom of the hoop stabilizer. So all, really handy tips. Of course, terry cloth, we know. Well, let's see what Deborah says, but I'm sure. What do you hoop with? What kind of stabilizer do you use for terry cloth, Sue?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me that. I really haven't done it.
Wow, really? Okay.
Probably no, I
Mhm.
really don't.
Okay, well, that's okay. So Deborah says that we use a one layer of medium firm tearaway,
Yeah,
like our
everything
tear
like
and
that.
wash, because you do want to eliminate that excess stabilizer behind the embroidery design. So great advice. And sometimes you would use a topper depending on the design. I'm going to have to get a drink of water. So tell us
All right.
the latest mistake that you made recently that just drove you crazy.
Oh, well, the bird nesting thing, that's for sure. I ended up taking a little bit of the machine apart to clean it out, but oh man, I couldn't fix it. It was driving me nuts. It also ended up being the bobbin. I had to adjust the bobbin, which is, a normal thing to do, but I probably play applique chicken too often, and the satin stitches don't cover up the fabric, and
Ah,
that is,
yeah,
yeah, if you don't, I have to pull the
frustrating.
hoop back and look at it because I miss the top of it
Mm.
a lot, but
Mhm.
makes for great videos because I
Just
laugh.
yes, absolutely. Okay, well, you're right. So number 5 is not threading the machine properly. And we often get lazy. I know I got lazy, right? And I kind of get mad at my machine, like, why won't you just, thread as fast as I want you to thread? And especially if you're at a sit-down machine and you're doing a design that has like 12 different colors and you keep changing thread. Can be a little annoying. But let's go ahead and take a look over at the machine. So we'll just get a little primer on, now on our exquisite thread spools, I like to place my spool with the thread tail coming off the back of the hoop, and I put it on my spindle and no thread cap, right? I don't use any thread cap at all on the top or at the back, and I just hold on to it with 2 hands, and then I'm going to wind it the through the thread path. And when I come up to the take up lever, I'm really flossing that. I'm really making sure I get in that take up lever. And then, of course, this machine has that wonderful threading feature. Actually, I don't think I'm in there. There we go. I have to get in that cutter. This is a really awkward angle to get in that cutter. There we go. And then I'm just going to thread it. And it went through the needle beautifully. The foot is raised, so the tension discs are open at this point. So a good check, if you're concerned if it has threaded properly, is to just pull on the thread, and it should just release really easily from the spool. If you're encountering some problem, some resistance, like I'm going to put my foot down, and now you'll see it really doesn't want to let me pull the thread. So that means, don't pull on it. But if that happens during the threading process, that means it's caught somewhere. So just pay attention to that. It's important that's the first step. If you just get that spool on without the cap, make sure you're flossing through those tension discs, getting it caught in that hookup, the take up lever, then you're good to go. That's as easy as it is, right, Sue?
It is, and I always say I take my time
Mm-hmm.
doing the actual threading because you can make 10 mistakes doing it, and
Yeah.
your machine, I mean, ours will notice it, but older machines won't.
Yeah. And
And
yeah, and if I didn't thread properly and I press go and my machine let me, that's when a bird's nest happens. So let's go ahead and take a look at this video so you can see just how easy it is to fix it with that bird's nest tool.
oh, lifesaver.
So what a lifesaver, right?
It really is, because when you get a big bird's nest going on, you can't take the hoop out, and you're going to end up cutting. You put scissors underneath and hack away, and you wreck whatever you're stitching on.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I think I used it about 10 times as I was testing my machine. I was like, woohoo, that was
Right.
easy.
It was easy. And,
Yeah.
the problem is in these big hoops, you can't get the scissors under
No.
there, like, because it's all jammed together and, it's not long enough. So that is just so nice. Okay, one of the next big mistakes. Oh, and here it is on sale this week for $29.99. So if you add it to something else and you get up to $75, it's free shipping.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. So another thing is letting the fabric drag off the table. That's the number one cause of magnetic frames separating from each other, an inner and outer ring of a standard embroidery hoop,
Pop out.
separating, right? Yeah.
I
So
try to be very careful of that, and I call them grabby hands, the ones that just go to your desk, not the big weightless quilter thing. I use the grabby hands a lot
yes.
because it will just save your
Yeah.
design. You're not going to get anything caught or
Right.
anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been sewing a project for my grandchildren and recently, and it's not embroidery at all, but it's a 24 by 44-inch quilt, and so it's a little awkward. I'm putting these pockets on it and all of that, and so just to have one end of it held up in the weightless quilter, tabletop weightless quilter, it's ideal. It just lets me feed the fabric smoothly and easily without battling that bulk. Even though it's not heavy, it's still awkward, right?
It's still, you have to stop all the time and move it
Yeah.
and move it and roll it if you're on the inside. So yeah, it definitely makes a difference. And I do
Yeah.
keep mine handy, the tabletop one. Sorry, I couldn't
Yeah.
remember the name.
That's okay.
And I use it
Yeah.
often.
I use it. It's always attached to my table. Oh, and here in the office, goodness, we use them for a million different things. They hold up some of our cameras. We use them for a lot of different things.
I've done that. I've done that. Whatever works.
Yeah, whatever works. Okay, so let's see. What's next? Number 7 is stitching the design upside down. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. I've done it. Sometimes you have to hoop the item upside down and you forget to rotate. I think everybody's done that. And I'm pretty sure I've created some new swear words after doing that.
Right. Well, if you have somebody in your family whose initial is M, and you've done a gazillion monograms for them or once or twice, and then you do a W because it's upside down, that kind of teaches you some lessons. So let's go ahead over to the overhead first. And we're just going to take a look. So here's like a terry cloth towel that want to stitch. Now this is a really small embroidery design, a small monogram, probably not the right scale for this terry cloth towel, but that's okay. We're just teaching here. So, here I'm going to put this on in position, but I don't really know where the center is or anything like that, right? But if I have the crosshair on there, well, now that tells me a lot of things, right? It tells me the orientation of the embroidery design. I definitely know this is for Mary and not Wilma. It's giving me the center of the embroidery design. But over at the machine, so let's go ahead over to the machine and I'll pop this on. And let's see if you can see. I want to show you the screen once I get out of the way. Oh my, this is a really thick towel. I got it all bunched up. There we go. Gloria, my right-hand woman, said, "Don't you want a chair?" I'm like, no, I don't need a chair. Maybe I would have been better if I had a chair. Okay, so here on the screen, you can see I brought the embroidery design up, but it's not in the correct orientation, right? Right now, it looks like Wilma. It looks like a W. And you can see on the towel, it's supposed to be an M. So theoretically, if I lower the presser foot and I'm just concentrating on the hoop, So let's go ahead and do that. And I use my navigation keys here to move the hoop so that I can get centered over that crosshair, and I'll do that with the foot up. And then I'm not paying attention to the image on the screen. I could very easily go and just stitch that design. It would be upside down. So the last thing I always do is check the orientation, make sure my template is how I intended it, and then is the design on the screen in the right orientation? And if not, then we just do a quick rotate and get it where it belongs. And I know that's basic, but I'm sure
it happens.
It does happen.
So yes, it's a good routine to check and double check if you're doing placement like that, because it's really easy to do. It's surprisingly easy to do.
And we're often in a rush, and speaking of holiday stitching, one time that it often can occur is when doing stocking cuffs, because when you're doing stocking cuffs, you are normally working upside down. You have to flatten out that cuff and get it in a hoop, and then you're stitching it kind of, the letters are reading upside down so that when you fold it over, it's reading in the correct orientation, right?
Yes. I usually spend about 5 minutes sorting that out in my brain to make sure it's the right way. But yes, that is exactly it. Or a dog harness that you put in the hoop, but it's, wrong way around.
Yeah. And it's too late then. It's too late, which is kind of a bummer for sure. Okay, so let's see. And number 8 is misspellings.
I'm laughing because I've done that one so many times.
Right.
You have to be careful. Again, you have to pay attention.
You do. You have to pay. And often you don't see it till it's stitched, right?
Of course you don't. Because of course you don't.
Of course you don't. Yeah. Well, in fact, two things. Our software, all of our software now has spell check, which is awesome. But you can write your copy in like a Word doc, a Word document, and copy it and then paste it into the text box in our software. And so that helps. So you can, depend on Microsoft to get it right, or if you're a Mac user. Anyway, here in my local grocery store are these aprons on sale. And the one on the right says Queen of Everything, but the one on the left doesn't have the Q. And it's for sale. It's got a price tag on it and everything.
Wow.
So talk about getting past quality control, right?
Wow. How did that happen? My goodness.
I don't know. I don't know how long it hung there for sale, but
even my kids, when they go and they look at clothing and it has embroidery, they assess it to see if it's good embroidery or not good embroidery.
That's right. Oh,
and something like that they would pick out for sure.
Yes.
That is, wow.
I know. Glaring. Well, here's Brenda. She says she has 50 towels to embroider, and she had a nightmare that she embroidered the wrong date on all 50, right?
That's a nightmare. That's a nightmare.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't embroider for a living, like if you just do it for the pure joy, I can tell you that people like Brenda and myself and probably Sue do literally have nightmares about embroidery. We think about the catastrophes that could happen on this precious fabric that was purchased, or somebody's wedding dress, or a golf club bag, or heads, whatever it is that someone has trusted you with their precious items for you to embellish. Right?
Yeah, I don't take family heirlooms, like even the handkerchiefs or $500 leather jackets.
Exactly.
I am not doing that because I'm not buying another one. So, and so many things can happen. And you don't want to ruin someone's favorite thing.
Yeah, that's right. Here's what Reen says. She says that's why she can't embroider for other people. It's too much stress. Oh, good for you.
Here too. I would prefer to design and stitch them out myself rather than some people enjoy it. I
Yeah.
just don't, because I do find it that stressful, and it keeps me up at night.
And of course, there's commercial embroidery houses that do that all day long, right? That's how they make their living. But they, if they have an order for 20 sweatshirts, they're probably not buying 20 sweatshirts, right? They're going to maybe get 22, you know, so they have 10% extra just in case.
Oh,
And yeah, they also like to be responsible for purchasing the blank. They don't want their customers to bring them garments, you know, 3
there's a
dozen.
reason for that,
Yeah,
for
there's a
sure.
absolutely. And it's not all financial. It's also because they know that this fabric works beautifully with the thread they use, the stabilizers they've selected, and their hooping technique. So, you know, it's very different than just saying, sure, bring over whatever you got and we'll put your name on it, right? So,
Nope, not for me.
yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's see. This by Chris Embroidery. She says, I wake and say, did I do that wrong? Always second guessing herself. Yeah, definitely.
I think everybody probably does that, or you get really picky because you know everything. I tell people that all the
Right.
time. It doesn't have to be perfect. You
Yeah.
are probably the only one that sees that
Mhm.
mistake.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, you know, take it easy on yourself. Okay, so missing the Q in queen is a big,
That's a big one. Yeah,
yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. Yeah, but Brenda, she's another comment. She says that she had a local embroidery shop do her son's school jacket. So I'm just going to assume here that's a varsity jacket, right? And there was a great big gap in the picture of the cardinal, and they refused to fix it. Well, I don't know, you know, I don't know the shop, but you know, that's what happens, right? They were given a garment. They don't have any control over that, and so it didn't come out as you had hoped. But of course, it's your school jacket, right? And you want to have their name. It's a catch-22 there, right? Yeah. So she says, yes, it was a varsity jacket. But that's why NASCAR jackets and a lot of varsity jackets are patches, right? Because you can
Oh,
make a
yes.
beautiful patch and then have it sewn on or fused on and not have to worry
Yes.
about hooping the
Yes.
garment.
It's a whole lot easier.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. So what's next? Well, let's get rid of that ugly queen, right? Queen of everything, and guessing placement. So, you know, we don't guess placement here at Dime. We use perfect placement kit. We use the children's perfect placement kit. We have print and stick target template paper that you just saw, those M's that I showed you that I print on out of my software. You know, I never guess placement anymore. I don't use rulers. I use templates, and that's what I used. It just is the fast, easiest, and efficient way of placement. How about you?
I have my perfect placement kit from 20 years ago
Mhm.
that I still use. I do, because
Yeah,
it's the first thing, because I couldn't figure out placement. I'm not going to do the rulers and everything. You put it on, and
yeah,
there you go. Put a sticker on, done, go.
yes, right.
It's
Mhm.
helpful. So, yeah, I kind of covet that, because if I'm doing shirts and stuff, because I
Mhm.
don't normally do it, I
Yeah,
don't remember where everything's
right,
supposed to be.
right, exactly, and, you know, we're not a commercial embroidery house where we
No,
are doing it,
all
over
the
and over again, you know, 40 times a day, right? Every day. That's where you really get great at it. So, Sue, you've had it for over 20 years. Marianne DeBlagla's had it for years. I've had it for years. You know, it changed once where we changed the target sticker opening from a circle to a square to
time.
accommodate the Baby Lock and Brother placement stickers. But
Oh,
outside
yeah.
of that, you know, we're still all wearing the same shirts and embroidering towels. Those things don't change. So,
Nope.
perfect placement, perfect placement kit is consists of item templates, right? So that's templates of hand towels, bath towels, sheets, left chest embroidery, that type of thing. As were what you saw earlier with the print and stick target template paper, that is a design template. So that's a little different, right? So this is that translucent adhesive paper that we use to, we put it into the printer of, your computer printer. And in our software program, we print out the embroidery design in actual size. Now, the one I'm showing you right here doesn't have a crosshair on it. So let me get the one with the crosshair, because in my mind, if you don't have a crosshair, well, we'll just take the whole hoop out. If you don't have a crosshair on a template, it's kind of useless.
The thing I like about the print and stick papers is that you can try before you stitch it. Because for me, for example, I'm wearing a sweatshirt that's 3 sizes too big. And if I was to do the placement, it wouldn't be in the right spot. It would be here. So you can stick one of those on and go, okay, you have to break the rules a little bit, but you get it so it looks good before you stitch it.
Right.
And that's what I've used them mostly for, which is so helpful. It saves so much time too.
It does. Absolutely. Yeah. And let's show Joanne's Banco. She's a big fan of the print and stick target template paper. Joanne, I hope you're doing well. I don't know how your finger is. Tell us in the comments how you're healing. She had a catastrophe recently where she sewed on her finger. Oh. But I think she's on the mend. Let's hope. So guessing placement was number 9. And number 10 is not producing a professional finish. So how do you do that? Well, number one thing is you want to trim all thread tails. And then the other is to remove excess stabilizer. I always like to trim and leave about 1/4 to 1/2 inch of stabilizer all the way around an embroidery design. Now, this happens to be a no-show fusible cutaway stabilizer on the back of that garment. And then after I remove the excess, I then kind of slit it between the designs. Sometimes your puckers are really just the stabilizer is kind of drawn up during the embroidery process. So if you just slice it, just slit it between the elements, look how it relaxes. And then the fabric, there's no puckers between there. And that's all that was causing the puckers.
Problem. So. Nice.
Yeah. So that's just a good tip. And here's Joanne Banco. She says she embroidered her finger on a 6-needle machine and had surgery to remove 8 millimeters of the needle. And so she's on the mend now. Can you imagine the pain? Oh, that must have been a wicked experience, Joanne.
A lot of people have done it, and I tend to put my fingers a little too close in my videos, but I always say, don't do this.
Don't
I've been doing it for 20 years. I've never, knock wood, sewn my finger, but don't do it because it will sew through.
Right. It does happen. It happened to my sister Marie. Yeah. She has an X-ray with a needle in it.
It gets stuck in there.
When she went to the emergency room, she didn't go right away. She was able to pull the needle out. It's kind of a long story. But anyway, when she did finally go to seek medical treatment, they took an X-ray. You couldn't see the needle. Took the X-ray, and then the tip of the needle was in the bone. And the nurse was saying, well, how did you get that in there? And Marie said, well, I just sewed over it. And they thought she was like jabbing her finger with the needle. She's like, no. This is a commercial machine. They're like,
Well, that's funny, actually. That's very funny.
Bring a video, maybe, of your machine in action to justify your actions.
Say machine embroidery, because when you tell people, what do you do for a living? Oh, I do embroidery. They think you're sitting there sewing, patches or something. No, machines
or cross stitch or needlepoint. So Joanne says it was embarrassing for her because she had a tool in the opposite hand to keep from doing it. Oh, yeah. Like I often use a skewer, right? Or a stiletto to hold fabric.
Or an awl, or I try to, but I get kind of bad for that. I like to live on the embroidery edge, right?
So. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so what's up next? Well, what's coming up next is, we always want you to know when we're going live, especially when, like, in case I get sick, like last week, and I didn't show up on Thursday. We just reposted that we're going to reconvene here on Tuesday. So if you subscribe to our channel, you would know. I believe you would have gotten notice that that's what was happening. So we really appreciate it when you like us on Facebook and follow us on YouTube. Ashley Jones is going to be here next week on the 3rd. She's going to be doing her software success, and I believe she's going to be talking all about freestanding embroidery, which is just perfect this time of year, lace ornaments and so forth, right, Sue?
Definitely. You can make
favorite?
your Christmas tree, you can make earrings, decorate your Christmas tree, decorate your house.
Yep.
They are truly beautiful, or gifts, because they fit right inside a card, and people are like, wow, how did you do that?
Yeah, and they can hang it on their tree. So nice. Yeah, so we're thrilled to see Ashley here next week. I'll be back on Thursday with a special guest. Her name is Linda Johnston. She's a local fellow embroiderer and quilter here in the North Texas area. And I met her at Houston Quilt Festival 2 years running in a row now. And then recently I've been a guest in her home and saw the some of her absolutely beautiful works. And so I thought you would enjoy meeting her and learning how she's used Dime software to turn traditional quilting methods into digital techniques that streamline the whole process. And I was very impressed. So I thought you would be too. We'll have a fun afternoon with her next week. And then, on the house, those free designs, they've been up all year. I hope you've been taking advantage of it. And I hope that you've been downloading them every week, because at the end of the year, they will go away. So please stay up with it and take them down. And of course, we like to see what you are doing. So if you post on social media with the hashtag Dime Sew Along, hashtag On the House, or hashtag Exquisite Thread, we'll find it and then we'll share it with all of you, like right now.
Oh, I love the ugly Christmas sweaters.
There are some
awesome.
Yeah, there's some fun sweaters in there. I love it. That was really cool. Can't wait to see more. That was just terrific. Okay. Oh my, that shouldn't be there. Anyway, this is the project. It's just a cute little clothesline of your ugly Christmas sweaters. So let's go ahead and, let's go to the overhead and take a closer look, because I have it right here. It's pretty cute, and they are actually removable because I just hand stitched those clothespins, just, really quick little whip stitch around the clothespins on the bottom. Let me pull that up so you can see it. I used white thread, but it just on that bottom, that's all. You just put the needle through the opening from the front to back and did a couple stitches. Aren't they fun?
I think that's great. I can't wait to make that.
And it's so fun if you have the sweaters already made, like if some of your friends if some of you have been stitching all along. So all you're really going to do is quilt this fabric. I got a great design for you for that. And then this is 2 hoopings. It's beginning to look is 1 hooping. And then this is the other hooping. So let's go take a look at how you do it. Oh, you're going to have fun with this, Sue. It's really super easy. Okay, so here's our 3 designs. We have the quilt lights, I think I called it. Quilting lights it's an edge-to-edge design, and it fits in a 8x8 hoop, I think, or an 8x12. And you'll just connect it from right to left. I'll show you. And then the 2 words. Okay, so it's going to be 8 inches tall, and my little sample is 24 inches wide. Now, you could make it as wide as you'd like, because that design will just connect, and depending on how many sweaters you've made, how wide you want to make it. So your first hooping, I would hoop on the right edge of the fabric. Stitch your first design, because the first stitch of the embroidery design is on the right side of that design. So as you advance the fabric to the left, it's easier to connect, okay? You do that, Sue, right?
Yes.
Yeah, super easy. I did print a print and stick Target template paper template of that design, and that let me, see it clearly on the fabric to connect. And then you're going to do 3 hoopings and then 4 hoopings. So it's 4 repeats to get the 24 inches. And then you'll just do 2 hoopings of It's Beginning to Look is the first design, a lot like Christmas.
I like the 2 colors. And I was also thinking, because you use little clips to hold the sweaters, if you make an uglier one, you can always change it easily.
Exactly. Yeah, you most certainly could. You could put people's names on them, monograms, and then let them
Would
take
that be
them.
nice?
Yeah.
It's so cute. I love it.
Yeah, really, really fun. So I think that you'll find it's pretty easy to do. Now, what I did do is, and I didn't put this in the instructions, but I quilted just the quilt top fabric and batting, and then also did the lettering, and used a tearaway stabilizer underneath that batting and quilt top fabric to stitch the lettering. And then I just added the backing fabric when I did the binding, just because I didn't want the letters on the wrong side. But it's no big deal, right? It's easy to.
Well, you're not really looking at the back of it, but I usually do it that way, so it's neat and tidy.
Right.
But it's not the end of the world if you don't.
That's right. It sure isn't. Yeah. So that is on the house project for this week. And oh my goodness, we just had so much fun doing it. It really was. Oh, and then lastly, I couched over baker's twine. So here, let me get that under the camera so you can take a look. So baker's twine, is that red and white, and I just used white regular sewing thread to couch over it. So I used a zigzag of about 2 inches wide with a stitch length of about 2 inches, and that's what holds that baker's twine in place.
Oh, nice. That is a nice detail, extra touch. I love it.
It is. If you have baker's twine, it's just so charming. I just love baker's twine. I think it adds such a nice touch. Yeah.
Definitely. It's going to be fun to do the placement, the many different ways you can do it with your machine or with the placement stickers.
Yeah.
And people should not be afraid of joining patterns, because it's not hard.
Yeah. So let's see. Mama here says, how can we get that? Well, a couple ways. Well, one way to get it, but I'm just going to back up the slides here just a moment so you can see where to go get it, which is right here. Okay. So Mama, you can go to dzgns.com and go to embroidery and then free designs, and you'll find this free design. It will take you to that page, and it'll be right there. It'll be a zip file. It's going to have those 3 embroidery designs in it and the instructions on how to make that little mini wall hanging. You'll also find on that page all of the free designs. Every week we give a free design here at Dime, and you'll find them all there.
So you can pick up the ugly sweater designs too.
Yes, because we did that all November. But the best part, Mama, is this wonderful woman, Sue Brown from OML Embroidery, is going to be doing a free sew-along, making this project on Saturday. At what time, Sue?
10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And it's always a lot of fun, and you will learn something, whether I make a mistake or placement or whatever. I like to get embroiderers confident with what they're doing. And most people go ahead and make it, and they're so proud of themselves of being able to do it, because they're all great projects that have a different technique to them. So, which is awesome. And I love this one. This is going to be other than the lace spider for Halloween, I think this will be my favorite one.
Okay. Cynthia Forrest says some of those old designs don't open. Okay, Cynthia, thanks for bringing that to our attention. We'll check them out. If you know specifically which ones they are, please let us know right here in the comments and we'll check out those first. But they should all work. We keep them up for the year, and then at the end of the year, we take them down. Now, some of them may be in a zip file. So you may, well, I think they're all in zip files. So you have to download it, unzip it. And if you want to adjust the size of anything, we always suggest that you use the C2S format and resize it in our free embroidery toolshed software program. That's that program reads the C2S format, so you have the ability to resize. And somebody asked, will that quilting design fit in the 6x10 hoop? It might if you just tweak it a little bit. You'll have to check that out when you download it. But in the free software, you can resize. So do it. Take advantage of it, right, Sue?
Well, definitely. And then you could make exactly precisely what you want.
Right.
It's fantastic. And I have done it a few times. I have the PEP software, all of it, which I absolutely adore. Yeah. So yeah, if you need to tweak it just a little bit, super easy because it's a native file.
Right. Yep. And that's where you can do the editing. So let's see. ML Weber wants to know, what time was that class again? So it's 10 o'clock Eastern time. And where are they going to find you? On YouTube, right?
OML Embroidery on YouTube.
Yeah. So I hope that you'll do that. You'll join her. And Jerry Dyke, that's where it'll be. It'll be on YouTube, on OML Embroidery's channel. And Linda Brooks says, good to see both of you, and she's thankful for both of us. Well, thank you. That's so kind, Linda. We love what we do. Right, Sue? I know I speak for you when I say that.
Oh, absolutely. Embroidery is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Oh. I love it. I love every day and everything that I do, especially learning something new. It's fun.
That's awesome.
Just fun, yes.
Yeah, just fun. Yeah, so definitely. And thank you for joining us here. We just love what we do, and we love to share our passion because, you know, it doesn't do us any good to keep all that knowledge inside. We want everyone to keep stitching and enjoying this hobby that we've made a big investment in, all of us, right?
Definitely. And I like people to be happy and confident and not, you know, I always say if you make a mistake and it's really bad, just walk away. Yeah, do something else, then come back to your machine with fresh eyes, and you'll feel better about it. You'll be able to think. So a lot of people don't get so stressed about it. Yeah, it's just embroidery.
It's just embroidery. Yeah. And Beth Small says, can you put names on the sweater? You sure can. You absolutely can. So for the past 3 weeks, we've done ugly sweaters. And I think the first week I did a class on how to add names. And instead of names, I used ho, ho, ho. But, you know, feel free to go back and watch that program if you need a little refresher on how to do that. But if you know how to do it, then by all means, have at it. That's so fun.
I think that would be cute for a family, having everybody's names on it. And because if you have the tool shed, you could make bigger sweater and a little sweater and a very little sweater.
Right, right. Yes. And yeah, that sweater design, it's just an E-stitch. So literally, you really can make that quite big and you can make it quite small. Now do that before you add any embellishments, right? Because
well, the small one, it would be pretty hard to embellish. Well, depending on how small you went.
Yeah.
Less details on small, more details on large. So, but I just think that would be adorable. And why not put one in for your pet?
Yeah, I love it. Great idea. Pets are family members too, right?
They are, absolutely. And they can wear sweaters. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing.
Good. Well, Kat says she's just new to embroidery and she just found our channel and she subscribed. Well, we love that. Good. Thanks for joining us here, Kat. You're going to get a lot of tips and we just share education. So, you know, we love to have you here, right?
Definitely.
Okay. Well, Sue, you know, we are about to celebrate Thanksgiving here in the U.S. You've already had your, well, you don't call it Thanksgiving. What do you call it?
Yeah, Thanksgiving. We
Thanksgiving.
just have it a month or so earlier than you guys.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's the same thing. We have the same traditions and
Yeah.
do everything. It's just earlier, farther
Right.
away from Christmas is
Yeah.
what we always say. But yes,
Separated.
same
That's
thing,
nice.
dinner
Yeah.
and be thankful for
Mhm.
things.
That's great.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I
So,
I
yeah.
forget that yours is so much later because I said
Right.
this weekend, I said, "Isn't this weekend the American Thanksgiving?" And they're like, "No, Sue, it's next week."
Next week. Yeah.
Oops, sorry.
That's all right. Well, speaking of next week on Saturday, Sue will be doing this class, how to do this little mini wall hanging on the OMB channel on YouTube. So that's where you can find it.
OML.
Oh, what did I say?
B.
Sorry.
That's okay.
OML.
OML Embroidery.
Yes.
You'll be
YouTube
able
channel.
to look for the little dash hound. That's what
Mhm.
the OML stands for,
That's
if you
right.
didn't know that.
Yeah. And that's at 10 o'clock on Eastern. So,
10 o'clock every Saturday, actually. 10
oh,
o'clock.
okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Every Saturday.
I think they'd probably come after me if I missed a Saturday. It's
Yeah.
everyone looks forward to it because it's a great way to start off the weekend.
Yeah. Well, since you're here, Audrey wants to know, what does OML stand for?
My sense of humor. My 3 wiener dogs that I had at the time, 20 years ago when I started the business, and it was Oscar, Maya, and Lena.
Oh,
Wieners.
neat.
Oscar Mayer wieners, you know?
Yeah, nice.
Yes. Yes. So that's why my icon is a little
Yeah,
dachshund
yeah.
because, I truly love dachshunds, and
Mhm.
those were my people.
Oh, that's great. They are
Yeah.
your people. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so well, thank you so much for joining me, and a very happy Thanksgiving to everyone watching today. We'll
Yes.
be back
Happy
here next week.
Thanksgiving to everyone.